Hey, Erin, have you listened to the Oliver Burkeman episode yet?
I haven't. I need to.
Yeah, you need to. You need to go back and listen to it before you listen to this one.
Welcome to the Atheist Podcast. I'm Erin.
And I'm Kelley. Atheist is where we will explore American cultural trends through the lenses of a devout theist
And a devout atheist. We will discuss the messiness of being human.
the latest in social science, psychology, and American culture.
And what any of it has to do with Homo sapiens' longtime preoccupation with religion. Hey, Kelley.
Hey, Erin.
How's it going?
Pretty good. We haven't done this in a while.
I know. It has been a minute. Or
It's
like
been a minute.
a month or 2 months.
Maybe.
I know. So for all y'all who are like, oh, well, they just talk every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, we do
We
actually
do
talk
actually
that
talk more,
frequently, but
more than probably every 2 weeks.
it has been a little while since we have recorded because we pre-record these, and
Yeah.
anyway, just time has gotten away from us. Both of us have been traveling and just have busy
Yeah.
things going on in our lives.
Yeah. So this is our follow-up episode to the amazing interview with Oliver Burkeman.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
yeah,
Right?
so cool. So
we were
cool.
fangirling all over the place.
Yeah, he's just that we were just chatting about the things that, you know, when you have some distance from something and you're like, okay, let's revisit that conversation. It's like, what are the things that are still lingering or what is still sticking with you? And for me, one of the things was just how gracious and generous it was with his time as a
Yeah.
time management
Yeah.
professional.
Really?
I know.
You are somebody who talks about productivity and time management, and yet you chose to carve out time,
Yeah.
an hour
Yeah.
or more, to spend with us.
I know. It was so kind, so kind.
Yeah.
And-
humble.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think too, you know, it makes you sort of, or it makes me at least want to be the kind of person that when I'm in a position where I'm a New York Times bestselling author and
Which you will be someday.
people are asking for my time, that I'm like, you know what? I'm going to
Yes.
give these ladies some time.
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah. I mean, okay. This leads me to a thought. I listened to the podcast, the interview, Krista Tippett's interview, which I'm a big Krista Tippett fan, which is how I learned about Oliver Burkeman.
Yeah, yeah.
But she interviewed Vivek Murthy, the Surgeon General,
Mhm.
and so he talks about the pandemic of loneliness
Yeah.
right now,
Mhm.
and one of the things that he says is the antidote to this pandemic of loneliness is just like simply showing up and listening to people
Yeah.
and like being in presence with people, which is like, yes, right? Like,
Yeah.
how does this person who is like the biggest doctor in the country,
Yeah.
right? And that's what he is saying that we should be doing.
You know, what's interesting is, because I've thought about his recommendations quite a bit, and that's something that I've been studying for a while. Like, I mean, I'm glad to see him saying the things that he's saying, because it reinforces a lot of the research that I tended to believe was correct. But in this new job that I'm in, I have this interesting window into how other people work. And it's kind of amazing, actually, how few people actually work in an office.
Yeah.
It's like I'm having meetings all the time, and it's mostly with people at home.
Yeah.
But in particular, so there's one company that of all, I mean, I've worked with, I don't know, tons of companies at this point, but the one company in particular that I'm thinking of, that where they have very high ratings of like job satisfaction, someone at work cares about me, this is a place where I believe in the leadership. Almost all of those employees are actually in an office.
Yeah.
And I think it really does change the dynamic of your relationship to the people that you work with when you are in, that you're present with them. But it also sort of, as I've been observing this, at home, in the back of my mind, I'm like, that's part of the reason that people are lonely is because they're just like in their houses by themselves working.
Yeah. I mean, working, and sometimes not even working with people like down the street or in the same city, but around the world, and I've had that thought too. Like, how are employers actually gauging the mental health of their employees when they're 800 miles away?
I mean,
and you're not even sometimes even on video. You're just like on.
It's really, really difficult. But then at the other side of that, I mean, this is a whole tangent. But the other side of it is then it is also
we're good for tangents.
Yeah. The other side of it is it's hard to get the candidates that you want because people want that flexibility.
Yeah.
Yes. But so we've got like a hybrid model, which I really like. So you can work at home when you need to because
that's perfect.
My washing machine is broken and I need somebody to come fix it, and so I'm gonna work from home today, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And then, but like there is an office with humans that you get to interact with and go to lunch with and chit chat with, and
and be in community with, right?
It's more fun.
Yeah.
It's way more fun.
We've talked about.
Yeah.
Before we finish this episode too, we should probably talk about. I want to tell you about the soccer play because you were out of town that weekend.
Yeah, just say it.
Just say it right now.
Let's do it now.
So it was really great, like talking about community. And we had Ben and Adam on here, and I went, and Ben was so sweet. He like messaged me to see if I wanted to. He saved me seats.
That's so sweet.
So Bill and I went, and it was an amazing play where like we watched this kind of story of our town and our history of soccer, kind of unfold in this really kind of theatrical way.
Yeah.
But in the background was the soccer stadium. So, and it was lit up. So like the backdrop it was very cool. And Ben was there, and, it was, and Adam, of course. And it was just, what a sense of community and storytelling. And
did people just love it?
Yeah, people loved it. And there's a lot of like inside stories and inside jokes and all those things. So if you weren't like a soccer person, like, I think you enjoyed the theatricality and the storytelling of it. But man, like I was sitting right behind the guy who was like, I think he was like the president of like the St. Louis Soccer Hall of Fame League or something. And, he was just chuckling and, knee slapping the whole time. And
that's cute.
Yeah, it was great. It was just so great. But yeah, I mean, man, if we don't have avenues to connect and be in community, it's just really hard. So yeah. So all of that to say, thank you, Oliver Burkeman, for spending the time to be with us, because we know your time is precious. And even on Zoom, we could definitely tell, what a kind and caring man he was.
Yeah.
I think for me, the thing that I keep kind of circling back to in that interview was actually the first question we asked him and his response, when we said, this feels like the book feels like a culmination of years of thinking, not just like, this is like quick pop psychology, right? Feels quick and like, this is an answer for right now. And this did not feel like pop psychology.
No.
It felt like deep kind of
philosophical,
scholarship and soul searching. Right.
Yeah.
And so we asked him about that, and his response was really interesting and really resonated with me in that idea that he said, sometimes your experience, and I'm not sure exactly how he phrased this, but like your experience kind of catches up with your learning. And it's like you kind of think things for a long time, and then all of a sudden you have an experience. And I don't know if he equated it to having a child, or there was something, and then all of a sudden, like it all kind of culminated, like, oh yeah, this is what it means.
Right.
I think that's such a profound statement. And I think if we all really think about it, we can identify moments in our life when we had been learning something for years.
Yeah.
And then something in our life happens, and then it becomes real.
Yeah.
And we kind of are able to metabolize and kind of really learn it,
Yeah.
And as teachers, we think about seed planting. We know that everything we teach doesn't just all of a sudden,
Yeah.
like they don't
Yeah.
get it right away. But this idea that we can be learning something for several decades even
Yeah.
before we really learn it, I think and that just goes to this idea of like things take the time they take.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the thing that I was going to bring up that lingers with me, is that there are some things that take the time they take, whether that's cultivating like the relationship you want to have, or moving through something that's difficult, and it's like, this is hard, but it's going to get easier, and I know that it will. But like when you're young, it's hard to have that understanding of, because you just, when you don't have those experiences, it's hard to see that it does.
Yeah.
Someone can tell you that it will, but until you're in it, it's hard to know it.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think in a lot of situations with like therapists, mental health people, like they'll ask people who are in crisis, right? Can you think of a time when this happened, and how did it end up? So sometimes we do need to look back
To know.
to realize, oh yeah, that did come to a different end than I anticipated.
Yeah.
Or I did come out of that place. And
My son just got back from 6th grade camp. And he had a
deal.
He had a great time.
Oh,
He was so
good.
sweet, and he's gone to camp. He did 2 weeks of sleepaway camp like a couple of years ago, and like 1 week at a time, 2 different years, and he just really did not like it.
Yeah.
And so
I hated camp too.
Yeah, he was like, "This is not for me."
I'm with you.
And so when he was getting ready to go, I'm like, "Do you want to go? How are you feeling about it?" And he was like, "Well, I did those other 2 weeks, and it was hard, but I made it through, And so that was his perspective, was like,
Wow.
I know that I can do it because I did it before.
But I still know it's going to be maybe hard.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to do the thing that's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I know.
Sweet boy.
I know. He told me so. And then I was asking about it afterwards, and he's like, that book is really helping. And I was like, oh, which
book?
Well, so
which book, Mom?
It's one that I finished, and I was like, I think you're probably old enough to like read this and get it. And it's The Obstacle is the Way. So it's a Stoicism philosophy, and it's just about being able to move through difficulty, to see actually difficulty as an opportunity, to be a better version of yourself. And he's been reading it at night, and
You're 6th grader.
He's
reading Stoicism.
I know. And so he was like, I remember the first few nights he was reading it, I was like, how's that going? And he's like, well, I'm only on page 12, but I'm trying to go really slow because he's packing a lot of information into.
Okay, the book you got to get him next.
Yeah.
You've got to get him the book Sophie's World. Have you ever read Sophie's World?
I remember we have it at home. Lauren has read it. I have not read it, but I don't know if you remember this. This was like when we were in our old house, but I remember you were over and it was on our bookshelf, and you like pulled it out and you're like, this is the book, and you were reading passages from it.
Oh, I was, yeah. About the rabbit
Yeah.
being pulled out of the head.
Yeah.
Okay, if you haven't read Sophie's World, listeners, go get it and read it. It's a history of philosophy. It's a Swedish writer, and it's the premise is it's like an anonymous philosopher who is writing letters to a little girl, teaching her the history of philosophy. And so the letters kind of evolve and change as like the history of philosophy changes. But it's just, but even if you don't read it, it's a pretty thick book, but not a hard read. But the first couple chapters, when he talks about like what the idea of the philosophy is and like what philosophers are, it's just genius.
Okay. I'll have to pick it up. I'm sure I would love it.
Kevin Rosenthal. Okay. Shout out to Kevin. Kevin Rosenthal used to come into my office at school and he loved this book.
Yeah.
And so he would lay on the couch in my office and I would read him passages.
I believe that.
I know. You totally believe that. And I'm sure his mother is listening right now and totally believes it too. I think she came in one time and she was like, Kevin, what are you doing on Kelly's couch? I'm reading him philosophy.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's right.
I'm sure I'll get fired now. That's not allowed. Oh man. Okay, I was gonna read you a quote because we're talking about lingering a lot.
Oh,
which,
yeah. Sorry.
No, you go. You go.
No, I lost it.
Forgot it.
I
okay.
lost it as soon as I had it.
As soon as you had it, you lost it. Okay. So there's this philosopher, and I'm not gonna know how to. And this might go nowhere, and we might have to edit this out. But I wrote this poem called "Lingering," and it was based on this philosopher who I want to say he's a Korean philosopher that was raised in Germany. I think this is correct. Bong Chul Han, and I read his book about ritual, the disappearance of ritual, and this quote: "Lingering presupposes things that endure." And I mean, that sounds kind of obvious. Like if something lingers, we assume that it endures, right? But there's this there's this kind of draw to linger around things that we assume or that we presume have endurance, right? And so the poem I wrote, and if you want, I'll read it. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe. Why not, right? I used to collect antique typewriters.
Oh, cool.
So I've always been drawn to like antiques and things that have stories. Yeah. And I remember the first time a friend of mine from high school, she bought me a gift. And I forget what it was for, but she gave me a used copy of Hamlet. And it was just like a regular like Penguin, like old Hamlet. I don't even know if there were notes in it or anything, but she gave me this and I was like, and it became so special to me because I loved her so much. Yeah. And also because I knew she knew me. She gave me this, play that she knew I loved theater. And also I felt like this thing had a life beyond me. Yeah. It like had a life before me, right?
Yeah.
Somebody else had read this book and I was holding somebody else's this book. So for this very unfortunate time in my life when I moved like 13 times in 9 years, I collected antique typewriters, which if you don't know are like incredibly heavy. So I used to collect them, which was really dumb. But I read that line in that book, that lingering presupposes things that endure. And I think that it spoke to me in that the idea that I'm drawn to things that kind of have a life beyond or a life before what I have them as.
Yeah.
And and I think that also talks to the idea of time, right? That time doesn't just end, that our usefulness or that the importance of our time and what we inhabit as time doesn't end with our usefulness.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. And it just makes you, I think that's something that you can only, I think you can only recognize with the passage of time.
Yes.
And which makes, this is maybe one of the other things that has lingered, right? It's just thinking about how the passage of time changes us. Mm-hmm. And I think it softens us. It softens our edges.
I think we have a choice.
Yeah.
I think that time, because we all have that like crazy great aunt who is just like
May gotten sharper.
just that's gotten sharper, like
Yeah.
sharp cheese,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
sharper, like
Yeah.
in
No,
mind.
that's what I meant.
Yeah. Even though I love all my great aunts,
Yeah.
I don't think I have any great aunts anymore. But yeah, we have a choice. We can either, dig in and get real tight,
Yeah.
or we can soften.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel myself softening.
Yeah, you're a soft person. You are a soft person.
I know. I'm probably aimed to begin with. I'm going to be like,
you're going to be a puddle by the time you're 80.
I know, but I think it just has given me more. I think as you gain perspective and responsibility and just all of those things. Just I don't know. For me, most of the time has given me more empathy and patience.
Yeah.
In general, that is good. I think it's a good. Transformation over time.
Yeah, and I think, that idea of, I think about 7 years ago, I made a really specific decision to shift towards, like, I don't know if I've told this story yet. I was like, I want to be an elder someday. Like I want to be like somebody who people look at as like, I want to be wise.
Yeah.
I want to be somebody who can offer, a warm heart and, and to be somebody who can listen and not somebody who's just, kind of who has that tightness. And so at the young age of 46, I decided I need to start that now because it's going to be a long journey to get there.
Yeah.
But when I was in college, I heard Madeleine L'Engle speak, who wrote like A Wrinkle in Time.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And she's this like amazing woman, and she wore these caftans and had these talismans and this short gray hair, and she was just amazing. And I heard her speak, and I was just like, she glowed. And I remember thinking to myself, that's what I want.
Yeah, I had a moment like that. This professor that I had in college, Jackie Banashinsky.
Oh,
she was a Pulitzer Prize winner,
oh my
and
gosh.
she had this like long white hair.
Yeah.
I don't know. She just looked so wise and so cool and like such a badass. And I was like, that is. I want to be like that.
I want to be like that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so it again, like that idea of. We are future thinkers as sevens. I always reference our Enneagram type because, but we plan and we think. And so we tend to be people who kind of go, oh yeah, I want to be like that when I'm older. Or I'm going to start thinking about my elder statesmanship when I'm 46. And what is that going to take me to get to that place? But yeah, things take time.
Yeah,
Ideas take time, and shaping the lives that we want take time. And
and I think the thing that strikes me about all of that is how often to me it comes back to like the habits that you cultivate for yourself, because it's you either build into your structure like what you want or it's not going to happen,
or you don't,
and it is like that those small commitments that you make every day to do the thing, and that's what creates the result you want.
And they can be small.
Every one of your 4,000 weeks, right? It's like,
oh my gosh, how many weeks do you have left?
I don't know.
I think I have about 1,500.
I think I'm still under, like I have more than half because it's if you make it to 80, right? So yeah.
I think I have 1,500. It's not a lot. Do you want to hear my lingering poem, and then you can cut it off if you can edit it out if you don't want to hear it? Okay, so so I'm retiring this year, and I'm gonna.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited. That is not lingering, but I'm in this place where I'm really really excited, but I'm sad because this is change is hard. So this this idea of things that endure and there's like moments when it hits me like, oh man, I love this. I don't want this to end.
Yeah.
But it's time.
Yeah.
So, okay, you ready? Lingering. Lingering presupposes things that endure. Byung-Chul Han. I used to collect antique typewriters. It wasn't smart for a grad student who moved every 8 months. Heavy, with sharp, rusted edges, none worked. By that time, I used a computer, I think. But with every new third-story walk-up, hauling up these prehistoric beasts, I felt connected to everything that had come before. I lingered in words written that I'd never read, and trusted that each one was plucked from an imagination that loved and suffered and lied and broke things. There were ghosts in these machines, and as long as they lived on my shelves, they lingered with me, and I too would endure. I gave a talk to the incoming freshmen today. I sat in the theater, perched on the stage, and they asked me questions about what high school would be like. At the end, I told them to come up and introduce themselves, that I would love to meet them. Last came Kai, a sweet boy, who said, I love music and dancing and acting too. I love getting a character and being able to make them mine. Me too, Kai, I said. I love it all, just like you. And he smiles, and I have to swallow hard because I always feel like crying now. So that was real, like literally. Yeah, he walked out, and I just wept. And I don't know what it was. Yeah. I don't know what it was, but that there's, and we've talked about this too, this idea that for as much as we feel a sense of permanence in what we do and a sense of meaning, and we're going to be talking about meaning soon, there's also that really deep knowledge that we are expendable and that we are replaceable, which is also just a deep grief.
I know.
Deep grief.
It is. And that sense of purpose, I think, so to preview our next guest, one of the things that he studies, he's a professor at Washington University, Patrick Hill, and is about how meaning and purpose fosters well-being, impacts longevity, all the ways that you like physically sort of manifest meaning and purpose. But very specifically, I think that for how different transition points in life where people are affected by that. And I know I think retiring is definitely one of them. Those moments where you're can it become a little therapy session? I think
for me?
So. Yeah, you could definitely talk to him about how you're feeling. You may. I admit, who knows what he'll tell you to do.
Maybe he'll change my life. Maybe I won't retire. Oh God, no.
You could still work.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm definitely going to still work. I'm not retiring. I'm transitioning.
That's
what I keep telling myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that conversation.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
thank you, Oliver Burkeman.
Yes. Thank you so much, Oliver, for your time, your graciousness, kindness.
Yeah. And your teaching.
Yeah. We deeply appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. See you next time.
Keep looking for connection.
As always, thank you to our audience for investing your time and listening to us. Please subscribe, leave some feedback, and rate our podcast. Most importantly, share it with a friend. Our show will only grow because of you. If you have any show suggestions, questions, or thoughts on the show, feel free to write us at atheist@stlpodcast.com.
Atheist is produced by Justin Seiwell and Trend Media STL. You can follow us and other great podcasts on Instagram at STL Podcasts. Also, check out the show notes for links to our Substacks. Thank you for listening, and keep looking for connection.